You think you know beauty. You think you know the woman whose face stops your breath, whose presence makes your stomach twist, whose smile convinces you that you've been chosen by fate itself. But let me tell you something you're not ready to hear. The very things that make her magnetic are often the same things that make her unstable. That's not an insult. That's not bitterness. That's the psychological reality that every man who's lived long enough eventually learns the hard way. And if you've never been burned by beauty, you will be. Because beauty without inner balance is like fire in the hands of a child, captivating but destined to destroy. Erich Fromm wrote, "The task is not so much to see what no one else sees, but to think what nobody else has thought about what everybody sees. Every man sees her beauty, every man feels the pull, but what they fail to think about, what they refuse to see, is that this beauty has been weaponized, not necessarily by her consciously, but by the world that raised her." Fromm understood something most men don't. When society rewards a woman purely for the way she looks, it strips her of the need to develop the deeper pillars of the self: humility, resilience, empathy, and truth. She becomes a reflection, not a person, a performance, not a presence, and when a person's worth is tied to performance, their sanity is chained to the approval of the crowd. You, as a man, must understand that this isn't about hating beautiful women, it's about seeing the machinery behind them. Fromm warned, "If I am what I have, and if what I have is lost, who then am I?" The attractive woman is taught, often from childhood, that what she has is her beauty. She is told, in subtle glances, in social media likes, in the worship of strangers, that this is her currency. But here's the tragedy. Beauty is perishable. It decays under the weight of time, childbirth, illness, or even the rise of younger faces. And because she has been trained to invest all her value into what she has, rather than who she is, the loss of beauty becomes the loss of self. That's the crack in the foundation where mental instability creeps in. You've seen it. The woman who spirals when she's no longer the center of the room, who lashes out when she feels overshadowed, who manufactures crises just to recapture the attention slipping through her fingers. This is not coincidence. This is the logical consequence of a self built on external validation. Fromm described it as the marketing orientation, where a human being treats themselves like a product to be sold, constantly adjusting their packaging to remain desirable. The attractive woman lives in this trap, and here's the danger to you. If you love a product, you can never truly love a person. You will always be chasing her latest version, and she will always be chasing the approval that tells her she exists. Men, you need to hear this without flinching. When you meet a beautiful woman, you are not meeting her. You are meeting her armor, her hair, her makeup, her curated online persona, her seductive laugh. These are defenses as much as they are invitations. Fromm understood that to have faith requires courage, the ability to take a risk, the readiness even to accept pain and disappointment. But when beauty has shielded her from rejection all her life, she has never been forced to build that courage. And without it, she is vulnerable not to others, but to herself. This is why so many attractive women seem mentally unstable, not because beauty makes them bad, but because beauty isolates them from the very struggles that forge stability. Think about it. When was the last time she had to fight for kindness? When was the last time she had to win trust without looks? When was the last time her worth was determined by her actions instead of her image? If the answer is never, you are dealing with a person whose emotional muscles have atrophied, and when life inevitably tests her, when beauty is not enough, she will not have the strength to endure without breaking. And here's where most men get destroyed, not by her beauty, but by their inability to separate the woman from the illusion. You fall in love with her reflection, not her reality. You start defending her behavior to yourself because the world taught you that beauty must mean goodness, that elegance must mean emotional depth. But Erich Fromm warned us, modern man has transformed himself into a commodity. He experiences his life energy as an investment with which he should make the highest profit. The attractive woman, in a society that rewards her face before her mind, is conditioned to see even her relationships as transactions. She doesn't love you for who you are. She loves what being with you says about her, and what you can give her to maintain the image she sells to the world. Now, this doesn't mean she's a conscious manipulator. In many cases, it's worse. She doesn't even know she's doing it. Fromm explained that to be aware of yourself is the most basic thing you can do for your own growth. But awareness requires struggle, and beauty shields her from it. The plain woman may have to face the cruelty of rejection, and in that pain, discover who she truly is. The attractive woman? She learns instead how to amplify her advantages and silence anything that challenges them. And here lies the tragedy. The more she avoids reality, the less equipped she becomes to live in it. You've seen the pattern: the meltdown over a harmless comment, the obsessive comparison to other women, the inability to be happy for a friend's success without feeling diminished herself. This is not random. This is the inevitable psychological erosion of a life built on fragile ground. Fromm wrote, "Self-love is not so much a feeling one has for oneself as a condition of being rooted in oneself. But when the roots have never reached deeper than the mirror, the slightest wind will rip the tree from the soil. Beauty without inner growth doesn't make a woman stronger. It makes her more dependent on a constant stream of validation, more desperate for it, more frantic when it disappears. Men, understand this. When you build your life around such a woman, you are not loving a partner. You are managing an addiction. She is addicted to approval, and you will become the dealer. You will spend your days trying to anticipate her moods, reassure her insecurities, and feed her hunger for attention. And here's the cruelest part. No matter how much you give, it will never be enough." Fromm warned that greed is a bottomless pit which exhausts the person in an endless effort to satisfy the need without ever reaching satisfaction. That bottomless pit can be disguised behind perfect makeup, an angelic smile, and a laugh that makes you forget the world, but the pit remains. This is why so many men feel drained after a year, even a month, with a certain kind of attractive woman. It's not that she's evil, it's that you've been conscripted into maintaining her psychological survival, a survival that depends on the one thing you cannot give her, a sense of self. And because she cannot hold herself up, you will break under the weight of holding her too. That's the part no one tells you. That's the part you only understand when you've lived it, when you've watched yourself become smaller, quieter, more cautious, just to avoid triggering the next storm. You might be thinking, but she was so sweet in the beginning. Of course she was. Fromm understood that the start of relationships often runs on fantasy, not truth. The danger in past and present lies in the fact that man's nature, though it has been molded by history, has not been changed by it. The early days are the mask, the performance, and when the performance ends, you meet the instability beneath, the anxiety of someone who has been taught to exist only when she is desired. And that instability, my friend, will become the weather system of your life. If you want to know how deep this goes, you need to understand the prison of identity that beauty builds around a woman. Fromm wrote, "Not he who has much is rich, but he who gives much." But the attractive woman is taught that giving is optional and having is everything. Having beauty, having attention, having status. This isn't just a shallow preference, it becomes her definition of self. She doesn't measure her worth by the strength of her character, but by the frequency of admiration. And when admiration fades, as it inevitably does, her mind begins to fracture under the pressure of invisibility. In psychology, we talk about the difference between the real self and the idealized self. Fromm argued that mental health requires alignment between the two, that who you are and who you think you should be must eventually reconcile. But for the attractive woman, her idealized self has been constructed by other people's fantasies. She has lived decades as the projection of men's desires, women's envy, and society's obsession. Her real self, the one who might be insecure, lonely, curious, or flawed, has been buried under layers of image management. And here's the core problem. The further the gap between the real and the ideal, the greater the instability. Men, when you interact with such a woman, you are not dealing with her authentic self. You are dealing with a public relations campaign that has run for so long that even she can't tell the difference anymore. Fromm warned, "The deepest need of man is the need to overcome his separateness, to leave the prison of his aloneness." But beauty, ironically, can make a woman more alone. She's surrounded by attention, but starved of intimacy. People desire her body, but rarely engage her mind. People approach her with flattery, but rarely with truth. And so she remains trapped, always visible, yet never truly seen. This is why, when a man finally comes along and offers authenticity, she often doesn't know what to do with it. She may interpret honesty as cruelty, boundaries as rejection, and emotional steadiness as boredom. Fromm understood that love is an act of faith, and whoever is of little faith is also of little love. If her faith has been placed entirely in her appearance, then love becomes a performance too, conditional, restless, transactional. You can give her everything you have and she will still feel unsafe, because what she really fears is the day her beauty no longer works as currency. And here's the warning you need to tattoo on your mind. Instability in a beautiful woman often doesn't show up as chaos at first. It shows up as charm, passion, a magnetic urgency that makes you feel like you're living in a movie. It's only later, when you're invested, that you notice the volatility, the paranoia, the emotional swings that seem wildly disproportionate to the situation. Fromm wrote, "There is hardly any activity, any enterprise, which is started with such tremendous hopes and expectations, and yet which fails so regularly as love. And love fails here not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you were in love with a mask that could not survive reality. Every man listening needs to understand, it is not your job to save a woman from the instability her beauty has incubated. You can offer kindness, you can offer truth, but you cannot undo decades of conditioning that taught her she is her reflection. You can only decide whether you will be consumed by it or walk away before it swallows you whole. And if you stay, know this: you are not her partner, you are her mirror. And the day you fail to reflect back the image she needs to see is the day she turns against you. By the time most men realize they're in too deep, they've already restructured their entire lives around keeping her stable. They've stopped calling old friends because she feels threatened by them. They've avoided social events because she fears competition. They've even started censoring themselves, filtering every word, every glance, every text reply to ensure it won't trigger suspicion or jealousy. You might call that love. I call it slow death. Erich Fromm warned, "The danger of the past was that men became slaves. The danger of the future is that men may become robots." When you live under the constant pressure of managing another person's fragile ego, you stop being a man and start being a machine, programmed to deliver emotional sedation on demand. Here's what makes this trap so lethal. She doesn't always want peace. Peace means stillness, and stillness forces her to feel the emptiness beneath her beauty. So she manufactures friction. She provokes you into arguments, tests your boundaries, creates drama where none existed. It's not because she's inherently malicious. It's because chaos gives her a sense of life, a distraction from the void. Fromm wrote, "The quest for certainty blocks the search for meaning. Uncertainty is the very condition to impel man to unfold his powers." But in her case, uncertainty is not embraced for growth. It's weaponized for control. The instability becomes a way to keep you orbiting her, constantly proving your devotion. And this is where your masculinity is most at risk, not because you will be shouted at or insulted, though that will come, but because you will start to accept the unacceptable. You'll tell yourself she's just emotional. You'll excuse betrayal as a moment of weakness. You'll rationalize disrespect as stress or misunderstanding. Fromm understood that love is not primarily a relationship to a specific person. It is an attitude and orientation of character. If her character has been shaped by years of dependency on beauty, then her love will not be love at all. It will be a transaction wrapped in passion, and you will pay for it with your peace, your time, your confidence. You think you'll be the exception? The man who's strong enough to hold her together. That belief is your downfall. Because here's the truth, the more you pour into a bottomless vessel, the faster you drain yourself. And once you're empty, she will not stop to refill you. She will simply move to the next source. Fromm wrote, "Immature love says, 'I love you because I need you.' Mature love says, 'I need you because I love you.' Her love, when rooted in appearance, will always be immature. It will always be need masquerading as passion. And the second your ability to meet that need falters, she will begin rewriting the story of your relationship to justify her exit. Men, the reason this is so dangerous is because instability in an attractive woman doesn't look like weakness to the untrained eye. It looks like intensity. It feels intoxicating. It convinces you that you found something rare. But what you've actually found is someone who has never learned how to stand without a pedestal, and you are the pedestal now. And when she feels unstable, she will kick at the very foundation she's standing on, even if it means collapsing both of you in the process. You have to ask yourself, do you want to be a partner, Or do you want to be a prop? Because beauty fades, and when it does, the only thing left standing will be the truth of her character. If that truth is hollow, no amount of your strength will fill it. And if you try, you will lose yourself in the process. The culture has been feeding you this poison since you were a boy. Every movie, every commercial, every song teaches you the same script. The more beautiful she is, the more valuable she is. You've been conditioned to believe that her looks are a direct measure of her worth, and by extension, your own. Fromm wrote, "Modern man is alienated from himself, from his fellow men, and from nature. He has been transformed into a commodity, experiences his life as an investment which must bring him the maximum profit. The attractive woman is the premium brand in this market of human relationships. You pursue her not only because you want her, but because you think possessing her proves you've made it. That's not love. That's consumerism dressed up as romance. And here's the cruel twist. She has been taught the same thing. Her value is her market price, and her market price is tied to her looks. Every compliment, every double tap on Instagram, every door held open reinforces that her power lies in her appearance. But power rooted in something so fleeting breeds paranoia. She watches the younger women coming up behind her like predators in the grass. She scrolls through the curated lives of other beautiful women and measures herself against them like a stock price. Fromm warned, "Greed for power is the result of the incapacity to love. And when her beauty becomes her main source of power, she will guard it with the same desperation as a king guarding a crumbling throne. You might think that loving her will calm this insecurity. You think devotion will make her feel safe, but love cannot heal what has been built on the wrong foundation." Fromm said it plainly. Love is possible only if two persons communicate with each other from the center of their existence. Hence, if each one of them experiences himself from the center of his existence. If she has never met herself outside of her reflection, she has no center from which to love you. She can only love the version of herself that you mirror back, and the moment that mirror changes, the connection shatters. The cultural trap is that men conflate beauty with compatibility. You believe that attraction guarantees alignment. But attraction is only the opening note. The song can still be chaos. That's why men with options still end up miserable. They mistake the high of winning her attention for the security of having a partner. And by the time they realize she was never truly with them, only with the image they represented, they're already tied financially, emotionally, maybe even legally to the instability she carries. Fromm reminded us, to die is poignantly bitter, but the idea of having to die without having lived is unbearable. And living in constant psychological damage control for the sake of keeping an attractive partner is not living. It's existing in a gilded cage. So why do men keep falling into the same trap? Because the culture has trained you to ignore red flags if the package is beautiful enough. You excuse entitlement because her face distracts you. You excuse emotional chaos because her body intoxicates you. You tell yourself she just needs understanding, when what she really needs is the kind of inner work that no man can do for her. And here's the unvarnished truth. The longer you stay, the more you train yourself to accept dysfunction as normal. And that, my friend, is how strong men become weak. Not through a single catastrophic event, but through a slow erosion. One boundary at a time, one concession at a time, one swallowed truth at a time. You stop leading your life and start managing hers. You stop standing tall and start bending just to avoid the next storm. And by the time you wake up, you realize the man you were, the man she was first attracted to, has been suffocated under the weight of keeping her together. Men, if you really want to break free from this cycle, you have to confront the part of yourself that keeps walking into it. The truth is, many of you chase unstable beauty, not because you're blind, but because it feeds something dark inside you, the need to prove yourself. Erich Fromm wrote, "Immature love says, I love you because I need you. Mature love says, I need you because I love you." But when you're chasing the most beautiful woman in the room, it's rarely about mature love. It's about winning a trophy to silence the fear that you're not enough. She becomes your validation, your evidence to the world that you've arrived. And when your worth depends on her presence, you will tolerate almost anything to keep her. That's why you'll excuse the drama. That's why you'll defend her to your friends even when you know they're right. That's why you'll convince yourself she's worth it, even as your peace erodes, because the thought of losing her feels like losing a part of your identity. But here's what you don't realize. The more you sacrifice yourself to keep her, the less of you there is for her to actually love. Fromm warned, selfish persons are incapable of loving others, but they are not capable of loving themselves either. If she is consumed by her own survival in the beauty marketplace, she can't truly love you. And if you are consumed by keeping her, you can't truly love yourself. You must understand that your desire to be chosen by beauty is the lever that unstable women use, often unconsciously, to control men. She may not even think of it as control. To her, it's survival. To you, it's devotion. But in reality, it's dependency on both sides. You depend on her to feel significant. She depends on you to sustain her reflection. Fromm described this as symbiotic union, where neither partner grows because they're locked in a mutual trap. The man loses his autonomy. The woman loses her authenticity. Both lose their freedom. And here's the brutal irony. Many men think they're protecting her, when in truth, they're enabling her decline. By constantly reassuring, constantly rescuing, constantly shielding her from the consequences of her instability, you are robbing her of the chance to develop the resilience and self-knowledge that could actually make her stable. Fromm wrote, "To love somebody is not just a strong feeling, it is a decision, it is a judgment, it is a promise. If she cannot make that decision without the mirror of her beauty, then what you have is not love. It's dependency disguised as romance. The way out is not to fix her. The way out is to fix the part of you that thinks you need her to be complete. Until you do, you will keep mistaking beauty for value and chaos for passion. You will keep calling instability mystery and volatility depth. And you will keep offering your life to a fire that was never meant to warm you, only to burn." Fromm believed that the capacity to be alone is the condition for the capacity to love. If you cannot stand alone, you will always chase the woman who keeps you from facing yourself. And if she cannot stand alone, she will always cling to the man who props her up. That's not partnership, that's mutual imprisonment. So to my brothers listening, this is the question you have to answer. Do you want to be a free man, or do you want to be a well-decorated prisoner? Because the choice you make will determine whether you live your life building a kingdom or guarding a cage. Like, share, subscribe. And if you believe in keeping this truth alive, support the channel through the link in the description. What we speak here is not for everyone, but for the men who hear it and know it's real. This is your wake-up call.